Welcome to our strategic planning workshop. The whole intention of this workshop is for you to really take time as founders, owners, and CEOs in your business to slow down and really think through what does success look like for 2026 when it comes to planning. Hopefully by the end of this workshop, you'll have a good head start in getting you prepared.
And we are starting with one of my favorite exercises. We've had a lot of conversations recently about putting that personal mindset into the professional space. And when you think about your business often, especially if you're a solo founder, it really oozes your identity. And if you're not a solo founder, well, I hate to tell you, but it still oozes your identity because you've founded it and you created it. So Ikigai is allowing you to align what you love, what you're good at, what problem you solve, but also what kind of needs there are in the market today, and what you get paid for. So here the reflection is, what would it look like to spend 70% of your time inside that zone this year? So doing what you love, doing what you're really good at, solving problems for your clients and also for yourself, but also getting paid for it.
Once you have realigned with your purpose, the next best thing to do is to define your goal. A lot of times, businesses get this wrong by coming up with too many initiatives that they don't end up actually executing on. So every strong plan starts with one clear goal for the year. This goal helps create focus, direction, and alignment. So your exercise right now is to answer in one sentence, what is the most important outcome I want to achieve by the end of 2026? We also have some examples as well. So typically when you're making a goal, you want to have it outcome oriented or a way that you can measure, did I achieve that goal? So an example could be is we want to reach 2 million in revenue with a 25% profit margin. That's a really good goal because it's creating specific measurable things that you can actually see that you have achieved by the end of the year. It also allows you to create what we'll talk about next is the how to achieve that goal. So really thinking through what is the most important outcome you want to achieve by the end of 2026. After you've written that down, check yourself by asking yourself, does this goal create both stretch and excitement? If you're not excited for the goal, it's going to be really hard for you to go back to your team if you have one and get them excited about it as well.
Cristy and I had a lot of fun defining our goals for 2026 when we met during our offsite earlier this year. But when you have that big goal, you have to have smaller goals. And so here we're identifying your wildly important goals so they fit into your plan. They allow you to set those priorities that will help you drive results this year. And this is an exercise that you're doing year after year, and they help you make that plan focused and actionable. So think about it as you sitting down and doing this exercise and write 2 or 3 statements that begin with, we will achieve a specific result by a specific date. You'll notice that everything is dated so that there is accountability, and you're also setting your expectations. So we're giving you examples as well here of one of the WIGs could be, we will improve client retention by 15% by September. So we have that specific result by a specific date. Another one is we will build a second line leadership by year end, or we will increase recurring revenue to 60% of total sales. So the reflection here is, if everything else stayed the same, would you accomplish these WIGs to make this year a success?
Now that you have those larger goals identified, they are specific results you're looking to achieve by a certain date. Now is when we start creating, in essence, the action plan to get there. So we call them rocks. You can call them goals. You can call them initiatives, whatever you want. It's breaking down your business into quarterly sprints. Every single quarter, the leadership team should be getting together to evaluate what happened the previous quarter and reset those rocks or those goals for the next quarter. So they're 90-day milestones that make your WIGs, or your wildly important goals that Aggie just talked about, achievable. This is what turns a plan into action or progress. So slowing down, going back to those wildly important goals you've just set, you now want to take each one of those and list 3 specific measurable outcomes that can be completed in the next 90 days that is going to drive the action and results towards those wildly important goals that then connect with the one goal that you have for the year. So we have some examples here, and I think that we could even go deeper on some of these examples. So here we have document and delegate key operational processes. What I think is missing in this one is, what are the key operational processes? We might have 15 different processes that we do from an operational perspective. So out of those 15, what are the 3 most important ones that you need to document? The next example is close 2 anchor clients in your target market. That, I think, is very measurable and specific. And someone can go back and do the work to figure out the plan on how to achieve that goal. And the other one, for an example, is launch a consistent marketing rhythm with 2 campaigns. So you can see all of these rocks are very actionable that help achieve the wildly important goal. The other pieces that are really important, and you'll hear us talking about this over and over again, what we most commonly find is people take the time, they do an offsite, they do the planning, and then the year starts and it's crickets. The next time they reassess what our plan was for 2025 is at the end of 2025, when you're starting to plan for 2026. What's missing is accountability. So as you set these rocks, you want to ensure who owns it. When one person owns a rock, that is correct. If you have 3 people owning a rock, that's going to create friction and challenges. The person who is the rock owner can elicit the support of other team members and people to accomplish the rock. But it is one person that is responsible for the end result at the end of the quarter. So make sure that every rock has one owner and let them know that they can collaborate with others to achieve it. And the other thing you want to do is track your progress. If any of you are familiar with a system called EOS, they basically use verbiage like on track or off track. That allows you to check in on a weekly basis and know if they are on track or off track. You can always ask, show me what you've done, to make sure the progress is being made. The last thing you want is to have an incredible quarterly rock set and nothing is done by the end of the quarter. So trust but verify, and make sure you have a singular owner.
One of the things that I loved that you said when we were running that workshop live with a group is not to confuse a rock with a to-do. I think that was a really good lesson that we ended up going over during that exercise. Once you have all of your goals and your big goal, your smaller goals, your initiatives, or your rocks, then it's time to put everything in action. You have to define, as Cristy just said, who is going to be doing what and when it will be done. If you don't have a basic scorecard or something to actually track your initiatives, good luck setting expectations and keeping accountabilities, because it doesn't work. So the exercise, as you have your rocks, transitioning them to actions, just put them in a really quick table that is going to list your rock and list your action steps, who the owner is, and who that date is. So the prompt here is, which actions require collaborations, and which can move forward independently. Cristy was just talking about the fact that when you have multiple owners, there is a gray area in accountability. It doesn't mean that you can't work as a group as long as there is a single driver. And now we're going to jump into the cadence.
So you have everybody working on things. And I think the most challenging part of being the business owner is keeping the pulse on what is happening in the organization. So we've shared a very simple framework here, which we call execution rhythm. Execution happens when there is accountability and rhythm. We are not telling you death by meetings. Nobody wants to spend more time than necessary in meetings, but meetings are absolutely essential to hold accountability and make sure you're creating the space and time to get things done. So we recommend having a weekly check-in with anybody who is owning a rock for that quarter. You can do it as a team or you can do it individually. It may be as simple as a 15-minute check-in, or if you're doing it as a team, it could be a weekly meeting that incorporates the accountability of the rocks. So making sure you're at least having, at a minimum, a weekly meeting with every individual that owns a rock in the organization or as a team. Then on a monthly basis, you want to make sure you have your pulse on the financials of the business and the health. This is a time to review any kind of scorecards or metrics that you are tracking on a regular basis, making sure that you're moving forward in the right direction or have the opportunity to shift and pivot because you're seeing different results than what you expected. If you're not reviewing your financial health and metrics on a monthly basis, it's hard to know what's working and what's not working. And then I alluded to this earlier, but every single quarter, that leadership team or your leadership team needs to get back together and revisit what were our wildly important goals? What were the rocks that were aligned with it? And review what the work was done and set your new quarterly rocks. Every single quarter, you have new rocks or initiatives that you're working on for that one goal that you're trying to move the business towards. So this is all about accountability. Your reflection here is who keeps you accountable to your plan. Sometimes when you're the CEO or founder sitting at the top, you're great at holding your team accountable, but who's holding you accountable? It's something that we pride ourselves in at Athena Advisory Collective, is supporting business owners and making sure that the ball doesn't get dropped because of them. In addition, it's so important to celebrate progress. If you and your team crushed your quarterly rocks, make sure you do something fun to acknowledge that. When you reward the behavior you want to see, you will get more of it. So consistency is key here. It is so powerful, and it's something that once you start implementing it, you're going to wonder how you operated without it.
My love language, numbers, because they don't lie. So any plan that you make has to be grounded in your numbers. As an owner, it is very important for you to understand where your money's coming from, where it's going, and how you can use it strategically to either scale or grow your business. There's a stat out there, and I'll find it and probably put it in the write-up, of the difference between owners who are financially forward and those who aren't. Because owners who are financially forward are able to look at their P&L, look at their balance sheets, look at their cash flow statements, and understand how everything ties together. And also understand from week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, where their money is going and, again, where it's coming from. So the exercise here starts with pull your P&L and write down, what is your current annual revenue? So you can look at last year to look at a full year, or you can look at where you are year to date. A really simple exercise, unless your business varies greatly from month to month. So two ways to calculate it. Number one, you can take the average of this year's monthly revenue and plug it into those months that you haven't completed yet. Another one is to look at last year's revenue, and for your minimally viable result, just plug in the same numbers you had for last year in the same months. So that'll give you kind of like what your current annual revenue is going to be. You can compare it for 2024 and 2025. Same for your current profit margin. So your profit margin is the difference between your revenue and your cost of goods. Actually, let me follow up, because that's the gross profit margin. Your profit margin is essentially your net profit at the bottom of your P&L. And same thing. So if you don't have a completed full annual picture, then you can do the same exact strategies that I just gave you. And the owner's pay includes your draws. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to look at your full owner's pay, because that is when you're talking about add backs into your business. That SDE includes all of your earnings, whether they're W-2 earnings, but also your draws. And then you can start answering questions like, what profit margins would make this business both healthy and rewarding? So this is kind of like, what kind of money do you want left at the end of every month and every year that would make you feel like your business is successful? Now, it's not only a feeling. I think every single business type has benchmarks. A healthy profit margin in most businesses, that may not be the case for yours, but in most businesses, is anywhere from 10 to 20%. Some of them are way higher than that. Some of them are way lower than that, depending on if you have a lot of cost of goods sold, or if your business is is heavy to operate. The other answer is, what revenue goal supports that profit margin without overextending the team? That's a really important question, because it allows you not to have that pie in the sky number that is literally impossible for you to achieve. You have a certain team, that team has a capacity, or even on another scenario, you are solo and you only have so much capacity. So if you're looking at this, it's like, what kind of revenue goal would actually allow you to get to that net profit margin, or that profit margin? One system that some people use, I'm not advertising it, but it works for some, it's profit first, because you're always starting from the back and building it forward. So you're deciding on your profit and then figuring out how much money you need to save, how much money you need to make in order to get to that profit. The last question here is, what expense should I evaluate or renegotiate this quarter? Yes, this quarter, because it is really, really easy to sign up for something and forget that it ever existed. And it keeps hitting your P&L every single month as an expense. So maybe you've signed up for, I don't know, Gamma app, which we're big fans of. Maybe you've signed up for a bunch of accounting software and you forgot that you've signed up for something. We were with a client not too long ago, and she realized that she was paying a lead generation company that she completely forgot about. Not only was she paying for it, but that lead generation company was not producing any leads, which is why it is really important to look at your expenses, of course, on a monthly basis, but also try to renegotiate and cancel on a quarterly basis at minimum. So the prompt here is, if you could free 10% of expenses, where would you reinvest it for the highest return? Sometimes it is impossible to cut expenses because you are running very lean. At that time, it's re-strategizing and figuring out where you can add efficiencies and automation to level up your revenue.
And just two other things to really consider sometimes when you're looking at those expenses is making sure that you're having at least annual conversations with your insurance providers, both health and business insurance. It's something extremely important. And usually, if you're willing or you have a broker that's willing to go out to the marketplace, it's a great thing to reevaluate on a regular basis. And one of our biggest expenses in running businesses. Moving on to sales and marketing. You can't plan without planning for sales and marketing. So this is where you're really focused on reconnecting with what offers brings in the best clients. I didn't say most profitable. I said the best clients. Sometimes people get so focused on the dollars in sales versus thinking about who do we serve best and what problems do we solve and who do we like to work with. If you don't like working with them, if you get that pit in your stomach before your meeting pops up with that person, it's a good identification to know that this is not the right kind of client. Now you can use that internal intuition and decide who are the clients that I enjoy showing up for, and start identifying what does that client look like so you can go find more of them. You also want to identify what channels bring you the most referrals and business. You want to make sure that you expand on those different channels, as well as identify new channels that you maybe haven't ever tapped into to test and market into. And then we all know the power of peers, in essence. A few different things. One, proof of stories, making sure you're getting testimonials from those clients that you love working with, so that if anyone is perusing your website or looking at the services you provide, they can clearly say, this is going to be the best solution for me. Another thing that people don't put enough weight into, but if you think about yourself when it comes to shopping, finding a new product, finding a new service provider, what are your reviews like on social media platforms and Google Maps? You could do an entire campaign around increasing that to create that brand awareness, as well as creating the buy-in from a potential buyer because they align and resonate with those reviews. So finding stories, finding ways for other people, in essence, to exemplify the services that you provide. And then when it comes to marketing, it's always good to simplify. If you cannot answer this little riddle with your brand or your product in an effective way, then you got a little bit of work to go back to the drawing board. So complete this. We help who solve what problem so they can achieve what result. If you cannot succinctly say what it is you do, what problems you solve, and the solutions you provide, go back to the drawing board, figure out what it is. Or if you've just recently added or changed a service, make sure you have that statement for every single thing you do, and that it is consistent and across all your websites and all your marketing material. So as you reflect in sales and marketing, what is one improvement that would make your sales process smoother and more human?
All right. Once you've figured out your numbers and your sales, it's time to systemize. I feel like we ought to do some kind of like a workout video to this, systemize workouts. Systemization and operation allows you to make your business more efficient. There are some things that Cristy and I repeat to our clients over and over again. And those are things that increase your enterprise value over time. And that is working the owner out of the day to day. Sorry to say, you can't do that without processes. You can't do that without systematizing your operations. The second one is to have healthy financials. We just covered financials. The third one that Cristy just covered is to have a recurring revenue. And so when you align all those three together, it really maximizes the value of your business. And it's not about selling it. It's not about planning your succession to whomever is taking the business once you step out of the day-to-day. It is about running a healthy, sustainable business that you can either scale or grow, that is profitable. So the exercise here, we call it process power. Whether you're doing it by yourself, mostly we encourage you to do it with your team, is to list one process that right now feels slow, repetitive. I'd add to that maybe roadblocks you. By the way, the statement of "we've always done it that way" never applies. There's always a way to create efficiencies. It's not because you've always done it that way that it doesn't deserve a look, even if it works. Because right now, with the advent of AI and all of those tools that are allowing you to document, to see if you maybe have one or two too many steps in the way that your process is being built out, this is where this exercise comes into play. So list one of those processes that feels slow or repetitive or maybe roadblocks you, and then figure out whether it can be automated, delegated, or improved with a template, or who needs to own it, right? Because it is about that expectation setting, the accountability, and having traction in your business over time. And then don't overdo it, but at least commit to one change every quarter so that your business can increase efficiency and also owner dependency or save you time. So the key insight here is operational strength is what makes growth sustainable. And I will repeat that 200 times because it is true.
When you're doing your annual planning, it's a great time. Maybe you have your annual reviews set during a similar time as well, but it's a great time to reevaluate leadership and people. So we have a quick little exercise here that could get you to start thinking about, do I have the right people in the right seat? Your business will grow faster when you ensure that you have the right people on the team, because your capacity increases and the clarity of the organization becomes more valuable. Because when people get what you're doing, it makes everything so much easier. So take a moment and list your top 3 team members. They could be leadership, they could be someone in more of a support role, even. Any of your top 3 team members. And then answer for yourself, are they in the right role? Do you feel like that individual is showing up with their 100% and adding value to the organization? Do they know how you measure success? I just mentioned maybe you guys do annual reviews. That could be a way to measure success, but how are you ensuring that throughout the entire year they know that they are leading and being successful? So if you haven't communicated that effectively, that could be a red flag for you, that it's time for you to slow down and sit with those people and redefine their job and make sure you have things that are measurable so that you both have clarity on how they are performing. And then if someone isn't showing up 100% on this list for you, what support or development would help them thrive? And this could be your own thoughts and ideas. Our hope is that if you identify somebody's not at 100%, that it gives you the option to go have a conversation and give them the support they need so they can rise up for you in the organization. So another way you can evaluate your team members is against your core values of your organization. If you were to write down your core values and identify, how does each person align with these core values? It takes things out of the subjective, and it really allows you to look at things a little more objectively as well. So maybe that's an exercise you do as well, and say, are they 100% in alignment with our core values, or are they like 50%? And can we close that gap between 150, or is this person the wrong person in this seat? Taking that time, slowing down, making sure you have clarity on measuring their success in their specific role, understanding if they are the right fit for where the company's at. I often hear, well, this person's been here for 10 years. They have no college degree. They've been the backbone of the business, but we're at a point where we need someone that truly understands HR, not just my cousin. And making that decision to cut that person is heart-wrenching. But when you see the productivity in your business shift by making that decision that was really hard, it then validates. I will always say one bad apple will spoil the entire cart. And the longer you hold on to those bad apples, the more often you lose the good quality team members that get it. So really take that time to reflect.
Let's bring it back to you. We've covered a lot of things. We've covered setting big goals, smaller goals, actions and initiatives so that we can make those goals happen. We've also talked about financials, sales, marketing, ops, and Cristy just walked us through leadership and people. And remember that exercise that we did at the beginning, the Ikigai? Well, we're kind of coming back to it, and we're letting you step back as the owner to really think through what you want to accomplish and realign with yourself and with your business. Where do you like to spend time when you are working in and on your business? Some of the reflections that we've shared with you are, what is the most energizing in my work right now? So where do you find that joy, that happiness? Another one is, what drains me and could be restructured, delegated, or discontinued. If you don't have anything that drains you, congratulations, you are in the minority, because I think we all do, especially if we are in the business, on the business, leading our team, et cetera, et cetera. The third one is, what kind of leader do I want to become by the end of this year? We all grow constantly. Business ownership sometimes makes you grow faster than you aim to. And some of the things that we cover a lot with our clients when it comes to leadership is difficult conversations, or also managing conflict within the team. Sometimes we have to step in to have those difficult conversations, whether it's for the owner or with the owner, because as Cristy said, sometimes having a conversation with one of your OGs that has been with your business for decades and letting them know that it's time for them to be liberated back into the marketplace is very, very difficult. The fourth reflection is, what would success look like beyond revenue and profit? So financials are important, but they're not everything. Obviously, to have a healthy business is to be making money and not to be losing money. But it is also for you to feel fulfilled and to feel like you want to be going to work, or want to be working if you're not actually physically going to work on a day-to-day basis. So another riddle to complete this exercise, and it's the one sentence strategy, which we've already walked you through for another part of this strategy session, is, in 2026, I will focus on building a business that achieves what by doing what, so that why it matters. So you have to answer what you're going to achieve by doing something to achieve what you will achieve, and why it matters for you and your business. And once you've completed this sentence, keep it visible. Like put it not on a post-it note, because post-it notes lose their stickiness and then they fall somewhere on your desk and then you don't see it. But put it maybe on your computer as your background, or write it down somewhere on your desk that you will be seeing it. If you have a whiteboard, like just write it down in big letters on the whiteboard. Because as you make this sentence visible, it becomes that anchor or that guide that you get to look at for every single decision that you make.
And last but not least, this is a lot of information. If you take the time to go through the workbook that we gave you, to do these reflections, to do the work of creating the goals that's going to move you and your business forward, then you are setting yourself up for success. But strategy is just not a once a year plan. It is the discipline of aligning what you want, what you measure, and what you do. Every time you clarify your purpose, strengthen your systems, and lead with intention, you increase the value of your business and the quality of your life. We know the majority of people step into entrepreneurship or business ownership because they want freedom. It's either freedom of time, freedom to earn as much as you want. And so always making sure that you are tying it back to the quality of your own life and making sure the business is giving that to you, then you know you're in the right direction.
And last but not least, but not least, because we like to prolong those last slides, is what do you do with all of this, and where's a good point to start? So one of the things that Cristy and I have had the opportunity to share with our clients is our health and value assessment. So it's a really quick 15 to 20 minute exercise that lets you go through some Q&A and set some goals, at least to start with. It's a really, really good starting point to that planning journey. It'll give you a score in your financial realm, in your sales and marketing realm, in your leadership, in your recruitment, and also in your productivity, which we can also refer to as operations, but it goes beyond that. It's like, where does the owner spend their time and how do we start impacting them getting out of the day-to-day? It's a really powerful tool to start that self-reflection. It allows you to identify those gaps and those opportunities because we all know that we learn from our mistake, not so much from our wins. And it gives you that initial alignment to figure out where those personal and professional gaps are and how it can unlock that planning for 2026. So Cristy said it a few times. I've said it a few times. Make sure you're aligning your personal value and well-being with your business strategy to create that more successful path. This was supposed to be a question, but I made it a statement because it's true. You have to put your personal self in your business journey and align both of them, because that's what we do. We live it on a day-to-day. And so the business becomes us and we become our business. And you need to have those conversations and those reflections on a regular basis. Thank you so much for listening to us. And as Cristy said, we will provide you with a workbook and with a link to take or retake your health and value assessment, depending if you've already taken it. It's a great way to see the progress that you've made, or also maybe some setbacks that you've encountered along the way. Cristy, as usual, it's always a pleasure to present with you.
You as well. I hope you all found this to be valuable and helpful as we are in planning season.
Let us know if you need our input. We always have time to either set a 30 or 90-minute meeting, depending on where you are on your journey, and we'll provide links to that as well. See ya.